Peace, 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 and welcome to Coffee Talk Podcast. This is the Cultural Variety Podcast Show, and I am your host, MISHUMA Saba, M. Saba, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. How y'all doing this evening? How are you doing this evening? Today is Tuesday, August 16th. And we have a show tonight. We typically don't even premiere on Tuesday nights. So this is a follow-up to yesterday, which was our cultural studies night. And we missed that show. So I do apologize to our viewers for missing our scheduled show yesterday. Had a lot of stuff going on, had a lot of stuff going on. And didn't like the energy of the show yesterday. So I wanted to go ahead and make just a few adjustments. And I wanted to just make sure that we don't skip out on Cultural Studies Day and that we go ahead and still give you what we give you every week, which is the flavor. You know what I'm saying? So welcome to Coffee Talk. And tonight we got a great show. Tonight we're going to talk about a great leader, a great chief, a great military strategist. And he goes by the name of SHAKA ZULU. And when I read SHAKA tonight, because he's definitely one of my favorite ancestors, as well as I love the movie also back in 1986. I also love the actor, and we'll talk about all that on the show. But I want to go ahead and read character in the voices that I hear them. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has their own voice, right? All right, but tonight we're going to go ahead and talk about SHAKA ZULU. Now, if this is your first time coming on to the show, Coffee Talk Podcast, or watching the show, I should say, we do appear 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and alternate Friday and Saturdays. Mondays being our cultural studies night, where we like to give props to our ancestors, our doctors, our scholars, our lawyers, our people. So we definitely like to go ahead and read poems, books, chapters, stories, fables, all kind of things. And we also like to hold great discussion here on Monday nights. Today is Tuesday, by the way. Then Wednesdays, we actually do our sports night. And we're not like any typical sports show. So we don't really care about who won or lost. But on our sports show, we like to go into the intricate details of our athletes in the world of sports and what they have to endure going through that process. And then on Friday and Saturday, those are alternate days, and those are the days when then you get to see us be us. We like to crack jokes, humor, laughter, all grown folk stuff that you would see if you was hanging out with other grown folks, socializing. So that's what we do on Friday and Saturdays. All right, so thank you for being here. And again, if this is your first time tuning into the show, we never start our show Coffee Talk without adding its flavor, without giving you its wise words. So tonight's flavor is definitely an honor to go ahead and tip my hat, salute this queen by the name of Marlo Richardson. That's right, her name is Marlo Richardson. Now, Marlo Richardson is a female owner of a Black-owned, California-based winery in California. That's right. So tonight we want to go ahead and salute with today's flavor, Braemar Wines. That's right, Braemar Wines, Braymar Wines, and the beautiful queen Marlo Richardson, who happens to be a sister that owns her own winery based off in California, and her wines are called the Braemar Wines. Now they come in a red, they also come in a white. You can get the Braemar wines in a red wine, and what it comes with, or its take, is a nice aroma with a berry fruit, vanilla, and oat. Very nice, smooth taste. And then if you go with the Chardonnay, the Braemar Chardonnay is very light with the citrus, green apple, pineapple flavor mix. So definitely, we want to go ahead and give a shout out to Marlo Richardson, owner of Black-owned California-based winery in California, the Braemar Wines. We salute you here, Queen, at Coffee Talk Podcast. And tonight's wise words comes from no other than top 10. Some even got them in the top 5 of hip hop. One of the greatest groups of all time he wrote for. And he went on to create some great family movies and comedy movies, such as Friday 1, 2, and 3. Today's wise words we want to use here at Coffee Talk Podcast comes from no other than Ice Cube. And Ice Cube once said this. Ice Cube says, truth is the ultimate power. When the truth comes around, all the lies have to run and hide. We're going to say that again. Truth is the ultimate power. When the truth comes around, all the lies have to run and hide. This is no other than legendary MC Ice Cube. O'Shea Jackson. We salute you here at Coffee Talk Podcast, King. All right, so let's go ahead and get ready to dive into what we're talking about tonight. Tonight, we're going to do the story of Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu. On our Cultural Studies Night, Coffee Talk Podcast. Let's begin. Shaka, also known as Shaka, warrior king of the Zulu, was born in 1787 in Shizangun. He was a Zulu chieftain, and he was married to his wife, Nandi. It is documented that because of Nandi's fierce temper, both she and Shaka was expelled from the royal court, and consequently, Shaka was forced to live his childhood in humiliation. Thus, Shaka grew up with a strong determination to prove himself and to regain his royal status. When Shaka was a young man, he served in the army of Diswingwo, one of the most powerful rulers of the Zulu land. Where Shaka's acts of bravery won him Disingwo's administration. Upon Zingzigwan's death, Disingwo saw an opportunity to establish an influence over the Zulu by giving Shaka, his protege, the military assistance to ascend to power. Shaka is accused of killing his half-brother and seizing the throne. At that time, Shaka was only 26, and Zululand was only 100 square miles in size. The new Zulu ruler declared it was his aim to rule all Africans. Shortly afterwards, Disingwago was killed by Zwade, another political aspirant. Shaka in turn set out to assassinate Zwade. After 2 attempts, Zwade was killed, though reportedly not by Shaka. Shaka implemented a new system of military organization that incorporated regiments from defeated tribes. According, when a chiefdom was conquered, it became a territorial segment of Shaka's kingdom at large. The young warriors became part of his royal army and were drilled and fought beside combatants from other chiefdoms. This encouraged their loyalty to transcend the bounds of the warriors' original environment. To maintain his army, Shaka established military towns and provided his army with the best of training and provisions. The Zulu king demanded the strictest of discipline and perfection from his regime. For example, his soldiers were required to remain celibate during their period of enlistment. Any violation of this rule was punished by death. He also killed any soldier that exhibit signs of fear. Shaka's assistance was based on excellence and imposed his strict requirements on others. Shaka has also revolutionized the Zulu army's weaponry and its military tactics. He perfected several complex battles formations that outflanked and confused his enemies. It was customary for Zulu warriors engaged in battle to throw their spears and retreat. Shaka considered this method both unsatisfactory and cowardly. If his men retained their weapons and advanced right up to their enemies behind protective shields, Shaka reasoned the Zulus would have their foes at a considerable disadvantage. Shaka therefore designed a short-handled stabbing spear, an asagi, that was used and retained throughout the battle. Shaka unified many tribes of the South African region, and his efforts are directly credited with saving that region from European domination during his lifetime. Nevertheless, some historians have criticized that Zulu warrior as an extremely militaristic man who was prone to violence. Ironically, in 1829, at the age of 42, Shaka met a violent and premature death at the hands of his own brother. He was repeatedly stabbed to death, and his body was thrown to the vultures. Many Black contemporary historians believe that Shaka is perhaps the most interpreted of all the African kings. This is the story of Shaka Zulu, who had a 16-year reign from 1813 to 1829. Shaka Zulu passed and went on to the essence at 41 years, September 1828. Very interesting story about Shaka, and I want us to talk about it. There's some things that I wanted to point out so that we can have a great discussion tonight. One of the things that Shaka required out of his soldiers was that they become celibate during their period of enlistment. Why do you think that? I want to give you a couple of hints, and then I want you to go ahead and leave a comment, hit the like button. But one of the reasons why Shaka wanted to keep his soldiers celibate during their enlistment is the same analogy and science behind why athletes, especially boxers or mixed martial artists or anybody in those sciences of combat, does not like to have sex for months prior to the fight. Some say that when you have sex, it takes a lot out of you. The testosterone starts to go lower and lower after every sex indulge. Some believe this weakens a man's performance. What is your thoughts on why Shaka will require that his soldiers that are enlisted be celibate? Go ahead and leave a comment on that. Let's move on to the next part of the story. Shaka had a problem with those that had fear. The great Mike Tyson once said that a man that has fear is already defeated. Sounds like Shaka Zulu felt the same way. What's your thoughts on fear? Can you overcome it? Is it natural to have some type of fear? The great Mike Tyson said that he always was scared before a fight. He would have butterflies. But he had to train himself to not continue the fear in the process of battle, in the process of combat. Because again, if you're already afraid, then you're already defeated. What's your thoughts on when Shaka said he did not like for the Zulu tribe to throw their spears and then retreat? One, from a military standpoint, he felt like once you threw your weapon, it was gone. Either you fight from the shoulders or you die at the hands of the next man and his weaponry. Shaka felt like we should not throw our spears, and he felt like we should not run. He also felt like we should not show fear. He created a small knife to get beyond the shields of others called the Asagi knife. Shaka was fighting against European domination, colonization, something that a lot of us still do today when we are battling against injustices, trying to seek justice. Are these similar? Are they similar enemies? Leave a comment. Some say Shaka was prone to violence. When I hear you say that Shaka was prone to violence, it makes me think about what's going on today when you have a strong man such as Shaka living in men today. And because men speak so powerfully, because men speak from the gut, they are often labeled as being toxic. This new word that tries to go against strong men, to desensitize them. I don't believe Shaka was prone to violence. I believe Shaka and his tribe was trying to conquer more land in this story. Why do you think that Shaka Zulu was misinterpreted? And that some feel that he's the most misinterpreted of all the black kings. Go ahead and leave a comment. Very good story. And if you're just now tuning in, make sure that you watch the show from the beginning as we discuss tonight on Cultural Studies Night, Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu. Great warrior and military strategist. All right, all right. So this is our show tonight. This is Coffee Talk Podcast, the cultural variety podcast show. And I am your host, Mashuma Saba M. Saba. and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. We'll see y'all next week on Monday when we bring you more culture, more appreciation, more gratitude, more support, more love, and most importantly, more flavor. This is Coffee Talk Podcast. I'm going to hit you with the universal peace sign. We out of here. Again, hit the like button, share the video, call somebody, let them know Coffee Talk Podcast is on. And we'll see y'all again. Continue to support the show, and don't forget to subscribe. Peace.
Audio Jungle.
Welcome to Coffee Talk. I am your host, MISHUMA Saba, M. Saba, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Stay tuned.